In the noble art, every punch must be fair, yet some tried to cheat with hidden weapons, and that is why boxing bans accessories that can turn a sport into a nightmare. Loaded gloves and plaster wraps. In the history of boxing, few forms of cheating have provoked as much disgust and anger as loaded gloves. The idea is simple, yet monstrous, turning a sporting tool into a weapon of illegal destruction. At first glance, a boxing glove seems harmless because it is designed to protect both the fighter's hands and the opponent's face. But some boxers and unscrupulous trainers sought to corrupt this balance by inserting inside the wraps forbidden materials like plaster of Paris, hardening substances, or even hidden weights. Once the fists were wrapped and the gloves laced up, the result was no longer a sporting tool but a disguised club. A notorious case was that of Luis Resto in 1983. That night he fought Billy Collins Jr. under the lights of Madison Square Garden. Collins absorbed round after round of punches that seemed strangely destructive, leaving his face unrecognizable with a torn brow and swollen eyes so damaged that blindness became a real risk. At the end of the fight, Collins' trainer had the instinct to feel Resto's gloves and discovered with horror that the padding had been removed, and the wraps contained hardened material. Collins never fought again and spiraled into tragedy. Resto and his trainer were banned from boxing for life, prosecuted in court, and even sentenced to prison. Years later, another scandal erupted with Antonio Margarito before his fight against Shane Mosley in 2009. During the inspection of his gloves and wraps, officials discovered suspicious inserts resembling plaster. The revelation exploded and stained Margarito's reputation, leading to a one-year suspension. Even though nothing proves he fought with such devices in his greatest victories, doubt has remained ever since. Many fans and experts still believe this shadow hangs permanently over his career. These cases explain why the rules became so strict. Before each fight, an official from the Athletic Commission supervises the wrapping of the hands and inspects the gloves. Referees, supervisors, and even the opposing camp may verify everything. The quantities of gauze and tape are limited down to the centimeter, and any suspicious addition results in immediate disqualification and heavy sanctions. Loaded gloves are the most insidious form of cheating because they do not only give an unfair advantage, they also endanger directly the health and life of the opponent. Every punch becomes a threat of fractures, brain damage, or irreversible injury. Horsehair gloves. There is a lesser known but highly debated controversy in boxing: the use of horsehair gloves. For decades, they were common, worn by many champions. Their distinct feature was the padding material. Instead of synthetic foam, they contained horsehair, a denser organic material far less durable. At first, this might have seemed trivial, but as rounds passed, these gloves revealed a troubling secret. The horsehair would shift, compress, and harden around the knuckles. The glove quickly lost its ability to absorb impact, turning every strike into a sharper, more cutting blow. Where foam maintains, some cushioned horsehair collapses and lets the bone strike almost bare. The result was more cuts, more trauma, and more serious injuries for the opponent. Some athletic commissions quickly realized the danger and chose to restrict or ban them. The Nevada State Athletic Commission, for instance, regularly imposed foam-padded gloves in major fights. The goal was simple: to reduce the risk of excessive damage and to standardize safety conditions. Because if one fighter wore foam gloves and the other horsehair, the balance was broken. One struck more safely while the other inflicted sharper damage. History is full of testimonies from fighters denouncing the practice. In the 1980s and 1990s, some boxers complained after bouts where they suffered unusual facial lacerations. The debate was not only about effectiveness, but also about ethics. The controversy intensified during high-profile fights where managers clashed even before the opening bell. Camps would argue not about strategy, but about glove selection. Fighters were sometimes forced to change gloves in the locker room under pressure from officials or television networks. Financial stakes in the sport's image demanded stricter standards. Today, horsehair gloves have not vanished completely, but their use is tightly regulated. Some brands still produce them, often for specific training purposes or for tradition-minded enthusiasts. Hardened and thin wraps. Beneath the gloves lies an invisible weapon few spectators notice, but officials monitor closely: hand wraps. Their original purpose is to protect the fragile bones of the hands and stabilize the joints. Yet, as often happens in boxing, some turned this protective tool into a weapon. As early as the start of the 20th century, rumors spread. Some fighters used wraps that once dampened or treated with substances hardened into blocks of plaster. The process was simple but deadly. Gauze was wrapped, sometimes moistened, then reinforced with layers of tape. tape. With body heat and air, the material would solidify. The result was a fist transformed into a hammer with every punch carrying abnormal force. Commissions reacted by imposing strict rules. In the United States, for example, regulations limit the amount of gauze and tape, generally no more than 9 meters of gauze and 4.5 meters of tape per hand. Every wrap must be applied under the supervision of an official, and often a representative of the opposing camp is present. The goal is clear: to prevent any trick that could turn hands into stones. Still, suspicions persist. All it takes is one moment of distraction for a clever trainer to add an extra layer or apply an undetectable substance. The Margarito case proved that even in the 2000s, at the height of pay-per-view, boxing old tricks could resurface. What makes wraps especially dangerous is their invisibility. Gloves can be weighed, inspected, even cut open if necessary. But once the gloves are on and taped, it is nearly impossible to check what lies underneath. This makes illegal wraps one of boxing's most devious practices. Today, inspections are more rigorous than ever. Every professional fight begins with an almost ritual scene in the locker room where an official observes notes and verifies every strip of gauze and every turn of tape. The hand wrap thus stands as a fragile balance between legitimate protection and the temptation of fraud. Metal cups. In a sport where low blows can end a career, the protective cup is essential. It shields what is discreetly called the sensitive area, yet in the early decades of boxing, this protection sometimes doubled as a hidden weapon. Before modern plastic and padded models, some fighters wore cups made of metal or steel. On the surface, the intention was logical: to offer maximum protection against accidental or dirty blows. But in reality, these rigid cups transmitted shock throughout the body and could injure the opponent whenever struck. Imagine a full power low blow, not cushioned by soft material, but slammed against a steel barrier. The result was often devastating, causing sharp pain, internal bruising, or lasting injury. In the 1920s and 1930s, several commissions began noticing abuses. Rumors spread of fighters choosing deliberately hardened or even homemade steel-reinforced cups. The aim was not only self-protection, but also discouraging body attacks. Certain punches striking the cup could literally bounce off and break the rhythm of the fight. Over time, reports multiplied. Referees said they heard metallic sounds after some blows. Opponents complained of abnormal pain when hitting the area. Suspicion became so widespread that many federations introduced pre-fight checks and demanded approved cups made of soft materials covered with leather or padded plastic. The idea was clear: protect without turning protection into a weapon. The evolution of regulations reflects this concern. The metal cup now belongs to the Museum of Boxing's Mistakes. Yet its history serves as a warning: if fighters are left to choose protections unchecked, they will always be tempted to pick what favors themselves at the cost of fairness. Beards and excessive facial hair. Today, seeing a bearded boxer in the ring is nothing unusual, yet for decades, the beard was viewed as a genuine problem in the noble art, to the point that it was banned by several commissions. This rule, which might seem anecdotal or even ridiculous, rested on a very specific logic to preserve the integrity of fights and reduce risks. The first concern was safety. Referees and doctors claimed that a beard could soften some punches, particularly those to the chin. Even if it could not offer protection comparable to a headgear, the idea that a few centimeters of hair might reduce the impact of a straight punch worried the commissions. Some officials believed it distorted fairness between fighters, especially if one carried a thick beard while the other entered with a clean-shaven face. The second argument was about visibility. A full beard could hide a cut, conceal an open wound, or cover bleeding. In boxing, however, the referee and the doctor must constantly monitor the physical condition of the athletes to decide whether a fight can continue. An undetected cut worsened by incoming punches could become dangerous enough to put a boxer's life at risk. That is why in the 1970s, 1980s, and even 1990s, several commissions required boxers to appear shaved. Some referees before the fight even checked the length of the beard and forced fighters into makeshift shaving rooms set up in the arena. Archives are filled with examples of boxers angered by this rule. Some, for religious or cultural reasons, refused to shave completely. Others felt their appearance was part of their identity in the ring and saw this ban as an infringement on their freedom. Yet faced with the authority of the commissions, few had a choice. Either they shaved or the fight was canceled. Over time, this ban loosened. Medical progress, better monitoring of cuts, and a change in perception led most commissions to allow beards as long as they remained reasonable. Still, some jurisdictions jurisdictions even today impose strict rules ensuring that a beard does not exceed a certain length to avoid abuses. It is worth noting that this debate goes beyond boxing. In other combat sports like MMA, discussions over beards have also been heated. Jewelry in the ring. Among the firmest bans is the prohibition of jewelry in the ring. Chains, rings, earrings, or watches, nothing escapes the scrutiny of referees and officials. These objects, seemingly harmless, actually pose a direct threat to the safety of fighters. Jewelry is banned not only to protect the one wearing it, but also to prevent injuries to the opponent. A ring or a chain could turn into an involuntary weapon and add another dangerous dimension to a sport already brutal by nature. Referees therefore ensure that each fighter steps into the ring stripped of all accessories. This rule has given rise to several memorable scenes. Some fighters were asked to remove earrings or pendants at the last minute, sometimes right at ringside under the eyes of cameras. Others, proud of their image and style, attempted to defy the rule by entering with chains or watches, but were immediately ordered by officials to remove them. What may appear as a trivial fashion detail is in reality a crucial point of regulation. The slightest tolerance toward these objects of value could lead to irreversible consequences. Contact lenses. In boxing, vision is one of the most precious assets, which is why the use of contact lenses is strictly forbidden during official fights. Whether regular or colored lenses, they present a risk too great to be allowed. If a lens shifts or falls due to sweat or impact, the boxer may lose perception of distance and angles and compromise his ability to dodge or counter effectively. Beyond loss of vision, contact lenses are also a physical danger. Under the impact of a clean punch or even accidental contact, a lens can cause severe irritation or a corneal cut or even lead to infection. Athletic commissions therefore prohibit any fighter from stepping into the ring with corrective lenses. This measure prevents accidents and ensures the fight remains fair and safe for both participants. Only protective sports glasses are allowed, but solely in training. They enable boxers to correct their vision without compromising safety, yet must be removed as soon as competition begins. This clear distinction between training and official bouts highlights how vital safety is in modern boxing regulations. Referees and officials systematically check every fighter before the fight and make sure that no visual accessory can threaten health or integrity. Incidents linked to contact lenses are rare, but documented cases exist. Some amateur fighters tried to hide their lenses to gain visual correction, and these attempts often ended in interrupted fight sanctions or canceled matches. In short, the ban on contact lenses in the ring is not arbitrary, but a necessity grounded in safety and fairness. A boxer's vision must remain stable and reliable, and anything that could compromise it is strictly prohibited. Certain mouthguards. The mouthguard occupies a central place in boxing, and its role goes far beyond protecting the teeth. It cushions impacts, reduces the risk of facial fractures, and limits concussions by absorbing blows to the head. Yet not all mouthguards are equal, and some types are strictly banned in the ring. Thin, decorative, or novelty mouthguards that do not properly cover the teeth or that are not rigid enough are forbidden by athletic commissions. These models, sometimes used by amateurs or in unsanctioned fights, may look aesthetic but fail to provide adequate protection. Insufficient protection can result in broken teeth, fractured jaws, or worse, it can amplify brain trauma when a blow lands. To avoid these risks, regulations impose strict standards. Authorized mouthguards must be custom made, molded to the fighter's mouth through methods approved by a dentist. Boil and bite models are also accepted because they allow a precise fit and ensure every tooth and jaw is properly protected. Before fights, officials may check that the mouthguard is compliant, well adjusted, and harmless to the opponent. The precision of this equipment is vital because even a small gap left unprotected can turn a clean shot into severe trauma. The history of boxing is full of examples of injuries caused by inappropriate mouthguards. These incidents reinforce the vigilance of commissions and justify the demand for certified customized equipment. In professional competition, no fighter can afford to neglect this rule.